Greetings and salutations. Thank you for lending an ear to the voice of the times this Sunday, December 19, 2021. For today's editorial, anti-terror law needs to be finalized soon. After the Supreme Court's Solomonic decision on the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020, both its supporters and critics claimed victory. The justices took out two parts of the law and upheld the rest. In essence, the court ruled that the law was constitutional. With that, its implementation should proceed, as they say, full steam ahead. But it was somewhat deflating to hear from Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara that the ruling was still subject to a motion for reconsideration. While we acknowledge that feature of the Philippine judicial process, we are troubled by some of the other public reactions to the court decision. For instance, the critics who declared victory in the Supreme Court ruling also vowed to keep fighting the anti-terror law. Even former Supreme Court Justice Antonio Carpio, one of the petitioners against that law, argued that it should be struck down entirely. The critics claim to be concerned about protecting civil liberties, including the right to speak out against the government. But while we should all be concerned about freedom of expression, we should not ignore the other threats to society and to democracy itself. Undeniably, terrorism is real and exists worldwide. As such, it was also disappointing to hear the reaction of Vice President Maria Leonor Leni Robredo, who said that no law should be used to suppress free speech. She was also quoted as saying that the anti-terror law was a powerful tool that could be abused if placed in the wrong hands. We take it that Mrs. Robredo was merely making a case for herself. She is, after all, running for president in 2022. But she could have refined her comments, as many things could be dangerous in the wrong hands. The presidency, with its command over the military and law enforcement, is arguably dangerous in the wrong hands, but no valid argument exists to abolish that office. In fairness to the vice president, she did say that she hoped that the concerns of the petitioners will be addressed by the Supreme Court's final decision. She, however, may have missed an opportunity to win over more supporters, had her concerns been instead for the safety of the general public against acts of terror. Remember Marawi. Many of those against the anti-terror law seem to have forgotten that its roots trace back to the 5-month siege of Marawi in 2017. The clash between pro-Islamic State militants and government forces displaced 98% of the area's residents. About 1,200 people were killed, including 165 soldiers and nearly 50 civilians. The terrorists, some of whom were foreigners, took hostages as human shields and executed many of them. Some reported that the terrorists may have lost Marawi, but they were still in the area. Their forces have not been wiped out, and the authorities are concerned about them regrouping and regaining the ability to strike again. The legislative response to Marawi came later, when Senator Panfilo Ping Lacson proposed that the Human Security Act of 2007 was inadequate to address extremism. Only one person had been convicted of that act since its passage. Unsurprisingly, Mr. Lacson, the principal author of the anti-terror law, hailed the recent Supreme Court decision, saying peace had triumphed over terror. But with the law's critics vowing to continue fighting, the senator should not celebrate yet. As Justice Guevara said, the Supreme Court decision is not final. Meanwhile, we should not allow the left and the so-called opposition to hijack the debate. Whatever their political agenda may be, it should not supersede the need for security against terrorism and similar acts of violence. The economic toll of the Marawi siege was about 18.6 billion pesos in nominal terms, according to the Asian Development Bank. That was about 16.7% of the gross regional domestic product of the now-defunct ARMM, or the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. We should remember that, along with the lives lost that are harder to quantify. With that in mind, it should be evident that the enemy is terrorism, not the state, as some factions would like us to believe, and we should challenge those who claim otherwise. And that's the editorial for Sunday, December 19, 2021. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print, subscribe to our digital edition, or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and listen to The Voice of the Times.